Keep testing again.
Nah, like bro Nugget is too good, bro. I'm telling you.
Has it in?
Bro Nugget is too good.
Bro Nugget, also known by Frogger as
one of the best Sombra players of all time,
is the highest Sombra OTP on ladder. But how? Now, I need to address the elephant in the room, Sombra's ban rates. You might wonder what the point of this video is if Sombra gets banned so much in your games, especially considering Tracer is now 6 damage for some reason. But I'll talk about that at the end. We'll get into a game featuring Get Quicked on, but first, the arguably most important aspect of Sombra is making sure you don't feed and die. And as we see Bro Nugget pressure the Sojourn, there's a few measures you can take to prevent that from happening. Using cover, having distance from the Sojourn, as well as 2 health packs to use, gives Sombra insurance in case she needs to leave. The distance part is especially important because it means if you want to confirm the Sombra kill, it's gonna take time to reach her, but you'll see more of this later. Now, admittedly, Mr. Nugget doesn't always stick by this, especially on parts of the map where there isn't much cover to use. But, at least in this example, it's a bit more forgivable when you've got Lucio Beat layered on top of you. In this fight, against a Genji who can one-shot you, Nugget fires the virus before immediately leaving on top of the high ground. This stuff isn't groundbreaking, but it's pretty vital to making sure that you don't feed on the character. The Translocator is where things get more interesting. I know a lot of players that would have thrown it back to the Mega or back to their team, not above and behind the enemy team. In fact, it directly leads to the BAP kill just a few seconds later. But is this a dangerous Translocator? Not really. Nobody on the enemy team can actually punish the Sombra for such a play. You're already moving away from the Genji for a start, Lucio's already with the Genji, and the rest of the team haven't got the mobility to punish you as well. This isn't the only time too. When Nugget fought on the coast earlier, he tossed his Translocator up and over the roof, landing on the high ground and backing off. How many Sombras do you know that will just immediately leave? Doing this also minimizes your downtime on Sombra. Because the Translocator is thrown behind the enemy team, you're already perfectly set up to re-engage. And if 2 or more people come and chase you, which is what happens here, you're creating a 4v3 for your own team. You're essentially rage baiting people to come after you, and this is exactly what happened with PGE in this clip here.
Sombra behind. I can contest right now. Trying to help my Ana. Keep testing again.
Nah, like bro Nugget is too good, bro. I'm telling you.
Has it in?
Bro Nugget is too good.
While we're on the topic of players, RuPaul isn't the greatest fan of the Nuggets.
I knew it. I knew they had Bro Nugget. I knew it.
A few moments later.
Oh, I should have been Sombra. I fucking knew it, bro.
In fact, his chat even mentioned my name when it came to making this video. Now, the perks on Sombra is where your hero starts to get more interesting. The minor perk Bro Nugget picks is the ability to hack from invis, which also extends your invis duration by 2 seconds. People like Question thought that this was a bad perk, despite forgetting that hacking from invis was at least part of the reason why Sombra was so oppressive in past metas. As a result, it's unsurprising to see not just Nugget picking the invis perk, but also pro players in team settings picking it too. The one thing that's very important to note though, is that when Nugget hacks a target in invis, he doesn't decloak and start shooting them immediately. He waits for the perfect opportunity, and as you can see, he lands the kill because of it. Considering you get 20% more damage, wall hacks, and double virus damage on hacked targets, this perk just softens up your target for free. It's like tenderizing your meat before cooking it. No pause. So it's no surprise to see Nugget constantly hack targets from invis and not even decloak immediately, just waiting for the right opportunity. Often that opportunity will just be a basic distraction that your tank creates, like Ram walking in. As for the major perk, the virus one is just universally chosen. Not because it's particularly great, but because having the ability to heal teammates doesn't gel well with any of your playstyles. Speaking of those playstyles, now would be a good time to move on to them. I covered them in a previous Sombra video, so I'll quickly rattle them off here. Firstly, and most obviously, you can punish isolated targets who split too far from their supports. The Ashe in this example is by herself, split from her Brig, which means it's a free kill. Secondly, you'll be harassing the enemy frontline, in this example, the enemy hazards. Super useful at the beginning of fights if the enemy supports are just inaccessible or if they're baiting. Also useful if you're playing a very brawly Malga comp, which we still see every now and then. Thirdly, you'll be controlling the flanks. In this example, it could be shutting down the Genji from flanking to begin with. but it could also just be preventing someone from taking an angle like we saw with the Sojourn at the beginning. It does overlap with the first playstyle because that is also flank control, but the difference is that you're often playing to get kills there, whereas here, you're just playing to control space. You can literally see that the Sojourn goes from taking her own angle to eventually stacking on her backline. Fourthly, especially against Brig comps, you can soft pressure from behind. Again, a few months ago, I talked about how Phone was doing this to farm EMP, so it's no surprise to see Nugget doing this here now. Super good to do if you just can't be forced out. Lastly, you'll of course be doing some kind of traditional dive. Most obviously, that'll be during your EMP engages, but I'd also include following up of some kind of trigger that you see. In this example, Sojourn has already used Power Slide and is already below half HP. Those provide 2 triggers for Nugget to follow up and land the kill. This would also include following up of hacks, like I mentioned prior. The hard part of Sombra is not just knowing when to do which playstyle, but also when to swap playstyles too. Sometimes it'll just be down to process of elimination. For example, here, there just aren't any flanks to control because the enemy team is stacked. So, pressuring out the Kiriko and forcing Suzu becomes the most viable option. In other cases, it'll come down to aggression. In this fight, I think Nugget chooses the wrong playstyle of soft pressuring from behind and eventually hard diving the Sojourn. You might think, but Kajor, he gets his one, surely he did nothing wrong. But the opportunity cost is that the Genji is just allowed to get a free blade engage and trades up the Sojourn kill anyways. Controlling the Genji here would have prevented the blade entirely, but of course, if his Lucio had beats, then pressuring from behind becomes more viable. Hopefully you can start to see the layers of complexity that Sombra has, because a small factor can change what playstyle you do and why. If you want personal help breaking down those factors, check out my Spalo approved coaching down below. The penultimate thing I want to touch on with Sombra is stuff that enables you to do your playstyles to begin with. Referring back to that Ashe kill, that's partially enabled by throwing your Translocator high in the air so you can see what the backline are playing. You can see the constant pinging too, which at the very least gives your team a heads up on who might be a threat. If it wasn't for the enemy Sombra, I'd also be talking about hacking packs. I previously talked about how it can enable a follow-up playstyle, but it can also make controlling flanks and standing your ground a little easier. Hacking packs can also give you more invis time, but it's something done in the pre-fight or when you're invisible in the mid-fight. Now, why would I make this video if Sombra is banned in most of your games? Well, while there are obviously things that Sombra can do that no other hero can, ideas about staying behind enemy backlines and preventing dive engages still apply universally. In fact, just 2 days ago, SSG lost, in part because they struggled to prevent Rocket's blades. But also, I hope this is a bit cathartic for both Sombra players and people who hate Sombra. If you hate the character, you're not wrong. The follow-up playstyle is bad game design. It's something Question actually talked about because Sombra is very binary in terms of whether she's doing something or not. At the same time, Sombra is at least top 3 in terms of complexity when it comes to understanding and applying playstyles, so hopefully you learned something new and gained a little bit of respect towards Sombra. Now onto quickly addressing some of your comments. By far and away, the biggest comment I got on my last Orisa video was basically that she's still boring, which I'm not surprised by. The video was just testing how marketable I could make Orisa, which judging by how poorly the video performed, the answer seems to be not very. Anyways, check out Nugget's Twitch if you want to see more of his Sombra, and click the video on screen if you enjoyed this one. Until next time.